Hi there, I'm Eric Rhodes, publisher of Fine Art Connoisseur and Plein Air magazine. We've got a treat for you today. We like to share some of our newest and greatest videos, and this one is brand new from the great Bill Davidson. It's called Painting with Energy. Enjoy.
So hello folks, it's Bill Davidson, and so we're going to have a lot of fun in this video and we're going to learn a lot. So one of the things we're going to do is take you to a trip to the Italian Riviera, and from there we're going to really show you how to focus in and how to take a bad picture and how to make a good painting out of it by doing Imagineering. At first we're going to talk about how to set your mind correctly using neuroscience, and I'm going to give you some tips and techniques there, and don't ignore that part because it's really helpful. We just finished the SOAR workshop and it was really a lot of fun. We had a lot of people involved, and one of the educators came up with the term engaged learner. So if you can identify with some type of, that's what you want to be, say an engaged learner, and think about the 3 times or so that you have actually learned a lot and everything was flowing in your brain. So you can do that. The point of this video is to let you know that you can do it. So what you want to do is be able to get yourself used to that mode where you're right at the edge of your abilities. Now I find that most people push themselves way beyond what they think they can do. Remember, small incremental successes that you feel will start to make big progress for you. So one of the keys is how you feel. So think about the situation like this. How would I want to feel at the end of the day when I've been working on this? So the other thing to do is remember, if you've showed up and you've got a notebook and you're trying to learn and you're an engaged learner, what's going to happen is you're going to actually move towards that goal way faster. And so what you want to do is say to yourself, well, I'm closer to the finish line than I think. I'm almost 70% there. And really, most Americans don't really celebrate their successes. So no matter what you do, you want to be able to celebrate those. So as you're moving through, you keep building more optimism that you can do it. Now, this is absolutely critical to you because you're going to be pushing up to your limits. So what I want you to do is get your notebook out. They prove that for those people who identify, like say as an active learner, as an artist, whatever you identify yourself as, and you just identify yourself as having more abilities than you think you have. What that's going to do is allow you to move forward better. So they did an experiment one time, and they told these students who were average that as they went into their next year, they were going to be above average students because they'd run aptitude tests on them. Well, guess what happened? Those students did better than the other students, and all they did was set up their mind for them to actually think that they could do better. So as we get into this, I think you're going to enjoy it, and I think you need to set yourself up that way. One of the things is if you actually have a notebook and you jot these things down and you start thinking that way, it'll make you feel better. So one of the things that's also true is this. As the instructor here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to push you a little bit, and then you can push yourselves and follow through. One of the things that they say is an engaged learner is trying to learn, but at the same time, if the teacher comes by and doesn't let the engaged learner have some struggle to it, then they don't really learn as fast. So I'm going to give you keys to help you get engaged and for what you can look for. So one of the first things I'm going to talk about is how to see better. and using some technology, because if you can't see it, you can't paint it. Now look, let me tell you something. Pros can paint with any materials, they can paint with any colors, they can paint with any brushes, and they can probably paint with any canvases. And they know what they've been doing because they've been doing it, some of them do it intuitively now without even knowing the whys. I want to give you the whys so you can repeat the process, and I want to give you the steps that I think will help you see better. Okay, so I'm just going to do a couple of quick things to talk about how you can actually see things just a little better, and then we're going to get right into a couple of things related to a couple of just slides that show you what a better painting would really look like, and then we're going to go into Adobe Illustrator Draw and talk about the image. It's Adobe Illustrator Draw, and we're actually going to use it to show you how to set up a bad photograph and how to play with it to look at it to make it a better painting, okay? Pros what they're really good at is putting shapes on, so they can move them, change them, and do things like that very easily. That I find to be the hardest thing for beginners, and it's because people use the term drawing. And when drawing, most people think of, well, did they get the nose correct and the proportions correct? But the term is also used to say, can you make up shapes? The better you can make up shapes, the better your paintings will become. That's why clouds can become difficult and things of that type nature, because they never sit still and they're always moving. So I had this great photo of this painting scene from the Tetons in Jackson Hole. So because that photo was so good, it was so easy to paint the painting. So this is the final version of the painting. Now all I did was change up a little bit. So I put this section of see the frontal trees on the right on the ground plane, pushing you into the painting. I added more detail a little bit in that foreground to make it a little more interest, and then I warmed the colors up just a little bit. So because that picture was so good, this was an easy painting to sell. And how do I know it turned out to be a pretty good painting? Was it hit the gallery, they sold it within the first day, which was the Legacy Gallery in Jackson Hole. Now let's talk about lines. So you see, the line on the left is boring. The line in the middle is sweet. That's an ideal type line because it's pretty interesting look. And the line on the right is chaotic. So one of those things is this. You'll start to notice that if you paint your painting and it looks anything, or the lines or shapes or anything look like what's on the right, it's chaotic, what's in the middle is sweet, and what's on the left is boring. So you'll be looking for those things to fix as you go through the painting. Now I like to show this slide here because this is important. Usually when you're a beginning painter, this is what your paint looks like in the layers. The image on top is what a multi-layered type or professional type painting looks like. There's interest everywhere and there's tons of layers. And that's why when I talk about the canvas, one of the most important things is if you can't layer and get broken color on top of that canvas because it's too slick, you're going to have a hard time creating that top. So if you look at your paintings and you see any areas like the bottom part of this slide, then what you've got is a painting that's too boring in that area, okay? Now, I'm going to show you this because I'm talking about 3 tonal values. So I just painted this painting for the SOAR workshop, and all the people did it. Let me show you what this really breaks down to. Like 3 tonal values. The largest one is 60% of the total. Then the next one is 60% of the remainder. So it works out to be one 60% or greater, the next one's probably 24% or greater, and the last one being 60%. In all type artwork, think in terms of 3s. There's even some books that say, go look at all the great paintings and you'll find out that they're set up in 3s. So this painting, that's what it looks like. A big light space, a medium value, and then a larger dark space. So the largest one in it is the white, lighter part of the canvas. Then there's the darker part of the canvas. each spacing, you'll just see the different sizes and shapes. So this is the image that we will be painting from. Now, I'm going to show you how to make this a little better image, to ignore certain things, and how to make it better. Now, as you see, I wanted to increase the light and the color, so when I increased the exposure, it blew out the sky. And I've also got to come in, and it's kind of boring because there's a lot of greenery and not enough of the buildings in it. Now, this is on the Italian Riviera near Santa Margherita. So I always take it into a grayscale. Now, this is the painting converted to the grayscale. So anytime I paint the painting, but you can see that I put in a lot more buildings and things of that type nature. Now, this is actually the painting that was done for the purpose of this video, and this will be the painting that we will be doing. Now, what I want to do is show you something like this. I'm going to load this up and play with it in Adobe Illustrator Draw and show you how you can learn shapes and values just by dealing with this painting. Here's another one where I played with the painting a little bit and I changed the value in the foreground water because I thought it may look a little bit better if it was a little bit lighter. And then also what you'll see is how I created so much more color in the original part of the trees and created way more depth than I did in the background trees. Now let me open up the image in Illustrator Draw, and I'm doing this on an iPad Pro, and you can do it on anything, but this will really help you learn to see. So there's Adobe Illustrator Draw. Now let's take the image, which I converted into a black and white, okay? So what I've done is, there's all kinds of internet, YouTube things on how to work this and how to play with it. So what I've done is, and you'll be able to match up the image to my original photo. So I can go in, I can pick any brush I want. Let's say I pick this brush right here, I hit it. Up here, if I move it up and down, is my brush size, okay? Let's get it about there, maybe a little larger. Here's the opacity. So I can go down, it gets stronger or less. Now this is my coloration. So what I want to do is, I want to show you by moving this over here and getting it on a point, I can show you that picks up that color or value back there, see? If I go like this, it drops right in there. So let me show you what design does. So what happens is, if you're sitting at home and you go, well, I don't know, maybe I want to do this, maybe I want to do that. The pros know what to add. The key is, wherever a value breaks, like where this tree line meets those mountains in the sky, what happens is, that is where a value shift is changed in a big shape. So what I'll do is, I'll come back in and go, well, what happens if this tree line's not as interesting? Would it look better if I get that tree down here and then kind of get it out and just get all the trees like that from going up, and then maybe come in again, go over here, take the mountain value now and get rid of the mountain and get the mountain to do something like this. And so I can play with all the lines, and clearly, in my mind, that doesn't look near as good. So, when you're looking at your painting, look at all the lines where all the big values meet, like that tree line, then the mountain line to the sky. So I go, wow, that just doesn't look anywhere near as good. So by raising that tree line up, now I can go back and look at it again just to show you what happens. So I hit these and I erase all that and I'm back to where I was, okay? So it looks a little better. Now what I did was, I will go back in here and go, can I create more depth in my painting? I'm going to go back in, I'm going to hit my I got to an eraser somehow here, so I'm going back to a brush. Let's say I take this brush right here, click on it, again, my size, oops, back to an eraser, again, my size, my brush, opacity, let's go to the color again, and let's do something like this. What I want to do is get this on. I'll show you what happens. I picked up that color when I got rid of this. So what happened was it merged all in. I didn't create that much of difference in value or a move back plane. This by creating this one wall here. Let's go back in. Now I'm going to pick up some more color, go back here and pick up and create this wall. And then I'm going to go to a little smaller brush. Let's go back to a smaller brush here. Hit on it. It's pretty small. I'm going to pick up, oops, I'm going to pick up this highlight color. Now watch how I can move everything back, create more distance just by doing this and create an edge on that. That's a little strong, no doubt. So I'll just come back in and knock it down a little bit. And then, but it's just the idea that I could do that. Now, if you notice, all of the lines in here, everything's moving me towards a focal area. When I look at it in black and white, I'm going to go, let's see, I just want to pick up this bright color because I want to show you something. The lines in here will do this. This whole area is moving me down here. This is going to be my focal area here. I put these buildings in, they're moving me down here also. This piece is coming back in this way. My cloud shifts me, oops, my cloud up here shifts me down into here, which catches this tree line, which runs me right back down into my focal area. Even this tree line runs me back down into my focal area, and this runs me right into my focal area. So what I've done is, and I'm going to play with it because I may sit here and go, well, is this all I need? What if I put a few boats in, okay? Maybe one right back here, one back here. Does that help my painting? If it doesn't, I'll just erase them and take them out. And what you'll see is this. There's a bad line. And what I'm going to do is, I'm going to change my brush size again to something like this. There it is. My opacity, I'm about the right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up this back mountain there. And this whole line that's running through here, right through here, is not very interesting. So I'd be better off to come in and do something like that. So much better. So it's those lines that make all the difference. I can play with my painting. I can absolutely, then I can come back up and go, all right, image. I can go take the image and save the image, and it'll drop right into my photos, and I'll have it, and then I can close it. Now what I've done is I've added some of the boats, and I've added the two boats in the back to the original painting, and yeah, then I brought down some of the actual mass to reflect in the water. It makes a much better painting. It creates more interest in the focal area, and the little boats will help out a lot because it looked like all the boats were gone and there were no boats anywhere. So it helps the storyline. So as we go into this, I think you'll enjoy it because we're really going to play with this. And look at how bright the frontal trees are and how the trees in front of the buildings separate from those back trees, okay? So we're getting ready to get started, but I think that's important to see. You don't have to get your paints out all the time to absolutely make the changes, and you can actually learn to see shapes, lines, values and what makes a better painting just by playing with that, okay? Thanks so much. We're getting ready to go on, and we're going to put on the tonal, and we're going to talk about it as we go from here, okay? Thank you. Now we're going to do the part that's the most important. It's the foundation to the house. So we're going to lay in a tonal here. So all I really need is that I used to use, and people will know this, and if you have my prior videos, I used a warm tonal, and that's what people were using. But because this is a chromatic black, which is a transparent black, it won't kill my color as much as a regular black. So it's a gambling product. So what I'll just do is, the first thing I usually do, and that's when I get into the color, is I mix 5 gray puddles. I'll do that later. All I need to do now is get some white. And the reason that you don't do the brown tonals is because the problem with that was, even though you can overcome it, was that it made the rest of the painting look, when you put color on it, made it look too cool. So let's just get a little bit of white, some chromatic black, and remember, this is the easiest way to see how your painting's going to look in threes. So you may look out there and see a bunch of different tonal values, but the situation is this. You want to try to merge them so that you get your painting simplified into three tonal values. And that way, you'll see what the big structure of the painting is. You've saved some values so you don't have too many in, and you're now able to create a painting that will actually hold together when you put the color on it. So it's just like a black and white TV. Think of everything that way. So all I have to do really is mix 2 puddles, because I'm going to use the canvas probably is just the white or the lightest part in my tonal. Now, so that's all I have to do. I just laying that out like that. It's very easy. One of the beauties of this is it helps you just see how your painting's going to actually look when you're done. Now, remember, this is the olive oil. This may be just like almost water, the thinnest stage I can get. Now, some people go, why don't you use acrylic? Because acrylic dries too fast for me, and I want to be able to move these things around real carefully. And if I go to lunch or I start mixing color and come back and want to change something, acrylic's already dry. So this is much easier, and I don't want to carry another set of paints outdoors. I do this when I'm outdoors also. So the first thing I'm going to do is, now a lot of people they do those little sketches with pencil and black and white and everything. That's fine too. What I do is I throw this tonal up. If I don't like it, then I flip it around. I may do another vertical, or I may do whatever I want to change it till I get it the way I want. I just don't like to mess with pencil, and I just don't like paper. So do what works for you best. So the first thing I'm going to do is start to find the squared off section right, or get it so I can see. So a triangle there, we'll put my midpoint here. Look, you could use a ruler. Again, most of the pros I paint with, they don't have hardly any things that they use they don't carry anything extra with them. So eventually you'll get down to this. Now look, you don't have to do it. You could grid it out, do whatever makes it easier for you to begin with, and eventually you'll get to this point. So it's very easy. And I'll just take out my triangular lines real quick. Now, if you can't get that off and you go, oh, there's an advantage to oil prime canvas in that what happens is you can get this off real clean, but that's one of the, if you put more Gamsol on, if you go, well, mine won't come off, just put more Gamsol on your rag and get it off. Now, I use the blue shop towels for this reason. They don't leave lint on. Viva used not to, but they've changed what they do. Okay, so I'm all set. I got my spaces, and this is kind of funny because I thought about this while I was teaching the SOAR workshop. Your goal, it's real easy to design if you think like this. Okay, now you can look up design books and do all kinds of other designs. The sweet spots, there, 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 and there. So what you need is a focal area. Right off the bat, you want to determine where that is. My focal area here is in here. Okay, I have a secondary point of interest up here, another building up there, okay? And then I threw some clouds and a little bit of sky up in this area, a third point of interest. So what I want is a path, okay? My path's going to kind of come in like this. You create a path in your painting, right into there, okay? And then I'm going to have all these directional lines leading me back down to my focal area. So if I don't describe my focal area, how do I know how to move all these lines to where I'm headed? So this is moving me in. My trees and other things are moving me over here. My mountain throws me into my tree line, and my tree line moves me back down there. So I have a path all throughout my painting, and I also have a secondary point of interest and a third point of interest and a primary point of interest, my focal area. So if you think about everything this way, now I would read the handbook and look at the first 20 pages on entranceways and paths and paintings. It's the drawing book, it's on my website. It's very easy to look up there and read that because it's really, really important. And then you can figure out how you want to set up and design. I've never seen a book actually throw up design and landscapes like that. So it's really easy to see what I'm doing here. All right, now, some people are line drawers, so they're real good at drawing lines. Others are real good at drawing shapes. So the reason I put it right on the canvas is if I do those little sketch tonals with the pencil, then I have to convert it. This is a 12 by 16. That's a 16 by 20. These are different size canvases and different size dimensions. In other words, this is a 12 by 16's a 3 to 4 type ratio. A 16 by 20 isn't, okay? So it would be a little bit different. So it doesn't make any difference to me. If I have a focal area, some secondary points of interest, and a path through it, it's fairly easy for me to design this. So without worrying too much about measuring dimensions, coming down, if it looks good on, I'll make it look good on this size, is what I'm going to do. So I used to worry about all that and try to convert the numbers and go, wow, I don't have a canvas for that size. That's not going to be a regular frame. Just get it on here and make it look good. Okay, now I'm making sure this stuff's really light. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I may throw on just a couple little lines just to see. That's too thick. One of the biggest mistakes people make is to go too thick too soon. Now I will set what I'll do is I'll set my horizon line. And most landscape people will tell you you need to set that fast, okay? And so it's probably in here. Now I don't have a graph on my painting and I don't really care. I just know it's under halfway, okay? So that's probably, once again, I'm getting a little too thick. So some people come in and they start doing these little lines so they can see where everything goes, okay? And that way they kind of get a feel for how they're going to set up their painting. And they may come in and go, well, then that's about here. Okay, so you can do things like that. For me, once I get something like that going, what I'll do is I'll start to throw in my big shape values, because that makes it real easy. Okay, so my background, my lit part is almost always my sky. So if I drop down below that, more than likely that back mountains type stuff is in a mid-tone. So what I'll do is I'll just work that in at first. And you'll see how easy it is when you're working through this process just to kind of get it in. Right down here to my horizon line. And then you go, wow, this is just too easy. That's how you want to be thinking. How easy can this get? Because the easier the setup, and because we don't have too many shapes to deal with, we want to get these big shapes. If you keep it simple, you'll understand exactly what you're doing. So there's a V shape right there, which I will get rid of. And remember, all these mountains right now, I've merged them into one value. Also, in every design, you want you rolling into the painting. So you don't want this mountain coming like that, and you don't want that one running out. You want to try to keep you moving into the painting. So there we go for that. And then you want to keep this real clean. You don't want any white in it. You want to see how solid your design or your, and I'm going to use the house all the time, your house plan is. Now I'm going to start maybe playing with just a couple lines here to make sure it looks a little bit better. In this workshop, I'm going to be teaching you all kinds of things to help you become a pro and to be positive going into it. So think of the 3 times in your life when you were an excited learner. I remember those times, and write them down so that you remember them. So we're going to go into how to get your mindset to make it really proper and easy so that you feel fulfilled. And I'm going to give you some tips on how to see better, how to see your values better, how to mix your values better. There's some new techniques that I just came up with. We're also going to go into really how to actually play with your values, mix puddles, and mix a beautiful tonal. In addition, we're going to come in and we're going to give you 16 questions on how to finish the painting. I'm going to give you a format to try to help you to paint like a pro. And in this fun little Riviera painting, we're going to have all kinds of lessons talking about clumps of trees together, how to deal with them, how to deal with reflections, how to move mountains back, how to play with your edges, and really just how to set up a whole big of space from the front to the back, especially in a closed area. What I think that I can offer in this workshop, and I hope, my goal is to try to keep you excited and happy and enjoying it, and to also have all the latest neuroscience that I've researched so that you'll understand that how to really learn faster, how to set yourself to be happier so that you'll push through this and do way, way better. So that's part of it. Then I'm going to really teach you how to see better quickly. The more you can see, the better it's going to be for you and the quicker you'll grow. We'll also talk about values and shapes and how you can immediately become a better painter, especially if you're just beginning or are an intermediate. Then we're going to really go into the tonals on the value and how to use what a process that I call Imagineering, where you redesign from a bad photo. Because this photo wasn't great and I took it and Imagineered it and redesigned the entire painting so that it would look much better. Remember, it's about making a painting. I'll show you also about the process of mixing up some chromatic black with some white and setting up your value puddles and how to easily nail your values to your color so you can put it on the painting easily. We have a good time, so I like to have a good time. I take my art seriously, but I don't take myself too seriously, and I don't think you should either. So join me as we have fun and learn to paint like a pro on the Italian Riviera.
That is Painting with Energy with Bill Davidson. If you want to learn more about the full-length video and how to give energy to your paintings, you can learn more at streamline.art. All you have to do is go up to the comments section up there, and you'll be able to find a discount code. Now, let's get right to our interview with Bill Davidson.
I first started painting about 16, 17 years ago, and it was really kind of one of those things where I was ready to move on to something new. And so, really, I could match you painting for painting as being the worst painter that ever started. But I had a lot of excitement, I lost my ego, and I went to a lot of workshops. And so I tried to learn as fast as I could from everybody and to try to piece it together. So it was an interesting growth period. At first, I wasn't very good, and I didn't understand why, but I kept staying with it because I had a lot of enthusiasm for it. And I learned that if I kept my passion way ahead of my work, then I would stay with it and I'd keep going. It's kind of like Winston Churchill said. One of the keys to success is to have enthusiasm going after defeat from defeat. But if I think what happened is, and I started to really go to the workshops and really try to learn, and I learned to zip my mouth and not try to have answers, because I learned that I was at the workshop for a reason. The workshop teacher was better than me, and I didn't need to be justified in doing what I was doing. So anyway, because I was so excited about it, I stayed with it, and I started entering local competitions, and then I got in a gallery or two, and then I wanted to see how I did on the national level, so I entered like Oil Painters of America. And so once I started getting into those shows and everything, it really got to be where I felt like I was on a national level, so I entered some national things, and I kept going and growing, and I would still go to workshops and still try to learn, read, watch videos, and do all kinds of things that way. And then I began teaching. So I think by now I've probably taught over 150 workshops, but it was kind of cool because even at that point I realized I didn't know what I was doing. I had a college professor audit 2 of them. I had a psychologist come in to tell me how to make sure I was how to properly handle the artist in my group. And so it started to grow and grow and grow. And after about 10 years, about 2 years ago, I decided, I probably needed to reinvent myself. So I've been working on new painting procedures and new things. I still every now and then will go to a workshop. I've watched a lot of videos. And during COVID, I did a tremendous amount of research. So I was able to actually figure out ways, I think, to simplify it. And that simplifications even helped me paint way, way better. And I really got into learning what hot spots do, where there's highly talented places where people come out that are really good. And so I started applying those techniques to me. And then I just talked about them in the SOAR workshop and in my latest video. I really got to get into them a lot in the SOAR workshop. And so it was really interesting to see how the people were reacting to it. I was able to break down some things, and I learned, if you sit around long enough, you come up with some simpler techniques and come up with some better ideas to make it easier on us. Look, if you're a pro and you've been painting 25, 30 years, you can do it, okay? You're intuitive with it, you know exactly what's going on. But for all of us that started later in life, we need a process, and we need to stay in the process. Because if we learn our basic skills, and I started applying that to these hot spots in the coaching they talk about. What's a soft skill? What's a hard skill? Practice the hard skill. And I learned to be real concise with my teaching, to give concise, direct language. I think part of it helped me that I was a trial lawyer before, and my job was to take complicated matters, simplify it, and communicate. So one of the things I've always tried to figure out is, what's the whys? Why is a person doing the painting this way? And how do I do it? So I really looked at it a lot and started thinking about it. And the more I thought about it, the easier it became to explain it. And actually, in a way, COVID was very helpful to me to really reorganize all that, simplify it, and come up with some new processes to try to help people paint like a pro. And you can help people actually get better immediately. And so those type things, I don't know why, but it's really intriguing to me. I read all the time, I guess because I was a lawyer, and I did a lot of research on this. So it's all about, I got into the attitude, the neuroscience of what high performers do, and tried to apply that to the art process. So from here, it's a great thing now. I feel better about the techniques, and we all grow. So 6 months from now, hopefully I'll have some new ideas that'll simplify it and make it even better. I can tell that they're better because I can already tell that I'm improving faster and quicker. And my whole idea was I couldn't wait for, I didn't have a lifetime left to really do it. So you can do it in less than 10,000 hours with the right processes. So it got really interesting for me. And now I'm not, now I don't really enter any competitions anymore. I don't, I'm just moving out on my own. I'm not, groups. I just want to move on and do my own thing, and it's enjoyable for me. My style of painting, I think, and it's evolved. I used to put it on and leave it alone as I was taught, or tried to anyway. But I got really interested in, when I was looking at paintings, and how to make them more energetic and more expressive. Now, I know that term energetic, people go, what does it mean? Well, it's like nice, loose, moving brush strokes that have been adjusted. And so they have an energy to them where it looked like you had fun painting the painting. And because it's oil paint, it's textured. And by actually doing that, I couldn't figure out why people were more attracted to them. But when I started doing that and painting right on the painting and looking for happy accidents and starting increasing the textures and things of that type nature, and painting without just putting it on and leaving it alone, I started selling way more paintings. And there's a funny thing. Einstein said energy is everything. And now with this recent neuroscience things that say the viewer actually gets energy from the painting, from looking at it, I think that's what happened. I had more energy in my paintings. And of course, Einstein's probably correct. I'm not who's to question him. So I think the viewer actually sees that. So I find them I like to have a lot of strokes. I like for somebody to walk up to the painting, look at it a foot away, and not be able to discern anything. And really, when they step back 6 feet, to be able to see it come together. The question about what makes you different from what other artists is really, I don't know. Sometimes I feel that's best for other people to describe because of this. Robert Onrai said, set yourself free and your originality will come to you. So what I've tried to do is set up a process where initially I stay in control, and then I let myself really break out and go freer, except, in even the Imagineering part of it. So, it's kind of interesting. People say, you won't know your style, but everybody else will start to see it. And so it's one of those things where I know, you have to listen to other people to figure out what that is. So I'll get comments like, I love your brush work, I love the energy, I love the way it looks. It doesn't look like it's real tightly rendered or anything like that. So as long as I try to put emotion and expression into it, but I kind of let everybody else try to take the description of really how am I different. But I know because people will go, I can spot your paintings anywhere. I know exactly what your brushwork looks like. That's enough said for me. I don't really want to try to define it myself. So the question about whether do you have a secret sauce or a special power or anything like that, I don't give up. And the reason I don't give up is this. I try to stay optimistic. I have learned that to really enjoy the process and the journey is part of it. And so it always keeps me moving forward and trying and learning, trying to be an excited and an engaged learner. So I like to sit around and figure it out. Maybe there's a sauce in who knows what that is, but the sauce really comes from inside, and it's more when you get up in the morning, can you find meaning in your work? And that's a choice. I know I love certain things. I love big landscapes. I love the fall season. I love yellow trees. I love big mountains. I love streams. Whenever I'm outside, I love to be outside and doing that plein air painting. Is there an ideal scene? I don't want to become a one-trick pony. I don't want to just paint sunsets. I don't want to just paint skies. I like all kinds of landscapes. I want to try to create some beauty. we took, I bet I taught 12 workshops in Europe, all over France and Italy. And I mean, it's just exciting. You go over there, you see those beautiful buildings. You go up to the Tetons. I painted for Legacy Gallery in Jackson Hole up there. And, you know, the more I painted the Tetons, the more I loved them. So, you know, finding the ideal scene, you probably never do. So what you have to do is reimagine all the shapes. As long as you get your inspiration, and one of the best lines I ever heard was, find what you love to paint and paint it the way you'd love for it to look. Inspiration's a great thing. So how do I stay inspired? I'm always looking for something that really ignites me. Now, one of the things that everybody will tell you is you have to tie a feeling to a thought. So if I get up in the morning and I don't know what I'm going to paint, I'm going to look at it, and the first thing you have to be is highly aware. What's turning me on and what's turning me on the most? And that starts to inspire you. And you have to remember this. You have to celebrate your successes, and when you step up there, you have to go, I've got a good shot at making this a success. Simply because you go back and look at your past successes and you go, I'm a learner and I'm optimistic about it and I'm an engaged learner, so I'll eventually learn how to do it even if it's harder. The first time I painted the Tetons, it was a national disaster. So by staying inspired, I think it's very important to celebrate it. They say you can only work 4.5 hours a day of real deep thought. So if I get tired, I take a break. If it turns into a grind, I think it shows in your painting. Some people love to just stay in there and they enjoy that. I need my breaks, I need to go outside. So staying inspired is one of those things that I want to feel happy every day. And I know that's a choice. So when I get up, and some days it's easier than others, I know it. But I'll look for what makes me feel optimistic. I'll look for what inspires me, and I'll try to get that feeling of what it really feels like to feel good at the end of the day, and what it's going to feel like to feel good at the end of a life if I did whatever I chose to do, and I chose to do it well. There's a great thing by John Wooten about the basketball people. One of the cool things is this. If you learn to love what you're doing, and you learn to love the practice of it, that's when you get better. It's not about the results. So your goals have to be self-concordant. In other words, they can't be, I want to paint 10 paintings and win this award and sell this amount in sales. You can have part of that, sure. Part of that's money-oriented, but as long as it's 51 or 52%, I want to do the best I can do, not leave anything on the table, and not take myself too seriously when I get in there. Do take my art seriously. So it inspires me to go to beautiful areas and to look at them and to be around the other artists and to see beautiful artwork. It's just incredible to go into beautiful galleries. And, you know, being around other artists that are positive, they say you're the sum of the happiness of the 5 people closest to you. So you better choose your friends wisely. They need to be very happy, and the happier they are, they'll help raise your level. So one of the things that I like about inspiring other people is, that's why I'm so involved in the research of neuroscience that has to deal with how do you first make yourself feel better about it? How do you get optimistic? How do you then be able to turn that over to other people and inspire that into other people? You make it easier, you tell them you could do it. I think my teaching's been just a great source of joy, because I've met so many people. I've got so many students now that are just pro painters, and we see each other and we talk, and so it's just one of those things, and the community gets bigger and bigger. So one of the things I've always wanted to do was to go, you know, Bill made it easier for me to paint, and he inspired me to keep painting. And the other night we were on the SOAR cocktail hour at the end of the last day. It was great to hear people going, oh, wow, what that did for me and stuff. So that's probably the best feeling you could get if you're going to be dealing with this, and feels really good. And, you know, it's just because we put in the effort. We had 7 or 8 great technicians here. We were filming. There were cameras everywhere, and it was a 4-day long, long days and probably 6 hours of research going into it. But at the end, it felt really, really good. And I got to tell you this, don't be a loner. When you go, they did this study at Harvard. It's really interesting that the people that were freshmen in the Harvard Law School that went in the library and became loners and thought they could do it did worse than the people that were together. So that was a great thing. There were 7 or 8 of us in here working. I'd worked on it for 6 months beforehand to get it ready. And what was really cool was when we were doing that, I usually go, okay, I'm done. I need to get out of here. I'm tired. I got to get ready for tomorrow. Every night we did the Zoom happy hour. It was the cherry on top, as one lady said it, and it was fun. We were listening to the feedback. Everybody was having a good time. It was one of the highlights. So make sure you celebrate what you do and get around other people. Be positive with them. Help them. We all need the help. We're going to go, what's that statement? You can go fast alone, but you can go far with others. It's absolutely truth.
Well, that is Bill Davidson, and it's called Painting with Energy. You can learn more about it at streamline.art, and there's a discount code for you up in the comments section. Make sure you take advantage of that. Thank you for watching today. I'm Eric Rhodes.
In this workshop, I'm going to be teaching you all kinds of things to help you become a pro and to be positive going into it. So think of the 3 times in your life when you were an excited learner. I remember those times, and write them down so that you remember them. So we're going to go into how to get your mindset to make it really proper and easy so that you feel fulfilled. And I'm going to give you some tips on how to see better, how to see your values better, how to mix your values better. There's some new techniques that I just came up with. We're also going to go into really how to actually play with your values, mix puddles, and mix a beautiful tonal. In addition, we're going to come in and we're going to give you 16 questions on how to finish the painting. I'm going to give you a format to try to help you to paint like a pro. And in this fun little Riviera painting, we're going to have all kinds of lessons talking about clumps of trees together, how to deal with them, how to deal with reflections, how to move mountains back, how to play with your edges, and really just how to set up a whole big of space from the front to the back, especially in a closed area. What I think that I can offer in this workshop, and I hope, my goal is to try to keep you excited and happy and enjoying it, and to also have all the latest neuroscience that I've researched so that you'll understand that how to really learn faster, how to set yourself to be happier so that you'll push through this and do way, way better. So that's part of it. Then I'm going to really teach you how to see better quickly. The more you can see, the better it's going to be for you and the quicker you'll grow. We'll also talk about values and shapes and how you can immediately become a better painter, especially if you're just beginning or are an intermediate. Then we're going to really go into the tonals on the value and how to use what a process that I call Imagineering, where you redesign from a bad photo. Because this photo wasn't great and I took it and Imagineered it and redesigned the entire painting so that it would look much better. Remember, it's about making a painting. I'll show you also about the process of mixing up some chromatic black with some white and setting up your value puddles and how to easily nail your values to your color so you could put it on the painting easily. We have a good time, so I like to have a good time. I take my art seriously, but I don't take myself too seriously, and I don't think you should either. So join me as we have fun and learn to paint like a pro on the Italian Riviera.